guys, it's me again. My name is Brianna Jackson, and I'm one of the members of the Atom Group. I'm working alongside Miss Tanya Roy. See you, Tanya. Okay, again, our prototype is the Atom prototype. The purpose of this prototype design is to allow kids between the ages of 9 and 11 to learn about the elements of the periodic table, mainly the electrons, how to calculate the electrons, the number of protons and the number of protons and neutrons that are in each element of the periodic table. When we first thought about this prototype design, and when we were first brainstorming on how we wanted our interface to look, this is what we came up with. We came up with, your basic three orbits, your innermost, then your next ring, and then the outermost ring. And we eventually progressed from that to this prototype design. With this prototype design, what we wanted to have a software interface along with the hardware interface. And what our hardware interface would do was it would just randomly pick one of the first 18 elements of the periodic table, and it would ask just a random question. How many electrons are in the element boron? How many protons are in the element carbon? It would just ask random questions, and the user would answer the question by this hardware interface by tapping how many electrons or how many protons are in the element that the software interface has asked the user. However, there were a few difficulties with that prototype design, and we'll get to that in a minute. Now, after hard work and so many tries, we have eventually developed to this. With this prototype design, we wanted it to look, I guess, a whole lot better. It's not exactly how we wanted it to look, but we're just going to show you how it works and how we have improved coding-wise with this prototype design. So with this prototype design, we found it very difficult to do 18 elements. And so we narrowed it down to 10. So what we would do was we came up with the idea, but because of how we wrote our code, we thought about this. The first 10 letters of the alphabet each correspond to a element in our code. So what we decided was we will take a hat or a bowl or whatever, and we would just fold pieces of paper that contained the first 10 letters of the alphabet, and we would have the users draw one. So if you ended up drawing the letter C, you may have had carbon. And so what you would do was, okay, let's just try it. Okay, so from the bowl you draw the letter B. So you don't know what element B corresponds to. So you would type the letter B into the serial monitor. And then you would hit enter. And then it would ask you a question. I'm not too sure you guys can see this, but the question is, press the number of buttons and enter the number of electrons in an element. Let's start with the easy one, say helium. So it's asking you the number of electrons for helium. So what you would do is you would come to the hardware interface, the remote control if you must, and you would say, okay, well, how many electrons does the element helium have? And so you'd be like, okay, I know helium has 2 electrons. So you would press 2 buttons to represent 2 electrons. So let's press 2 buttons to correspond with the element helium. So you would press 1 button, and as you can see, well, you maybe can't see it there, but it says no. And our LCD also says no, because helium has 2 electrons and not 1. So if you press the first button, and then you press the second button, once the LED lights up, it'll say yes, helium. And then you will also print out here on the serial monitor, yes, this is helium. So it recognizes that you have pressed 2 buttons and 2 LEDs actually lit up. And while we were designing this prototype design, we thought the LCD was going to be the most difficult thing to implement. However, after getting assessments from Dr. McCoon, we realized that it wasn't really that difficult. So, and we also gave the users feedback on the serial monitor because we initially wanted the LCDs to blink or light up different colors, but again, as we were designing this prototype, we realized it was very difficult and kind of above our level to do such type of implementation. Again, I'm going to talk to you now about the strengths, weaknesses, and the design alternatives. Again, when we first started out, we started off with the cardboard, the candy, the Play-Doh, but we eventually wanted to develop to this. The greatest invention of all, the bacon mat. It's nice. It already has the rings around it, so the only thing we had to do was just stick the buttons and stick the LEDs in and have the breadboards, the Arduino that we are using to implement this prototype design, have it all under here inside of a cardboard, so everything would just be perfect and beautiful. However, the legs on the buttons and the LEDs are too weak and too short to go through this bacon mat. As you can see, we cut 3-4 big holes to try to fit the buttons and the LEDs inside of this bacon mat. This actually took us about 2 days to cut, seriously, because it's just that thick. So that was an epic fail. So we moved to another design alternative. This involved vanilla folders. We figured that the vanilla folders aren't as thick as the bacon mat, and we could decorate it, make it colorful, and entertaining and exciting for the users, which are kids between the ages of 9 and 11. And we would have the wires and everything else, the breadboard, the Arduino, hidden under this mat. That way it won't be shown, displayable, and look all messy. However, again, these items were too thick for the LEDs, for the legs on the LEDs and the buttons, so we were not able to use it. Now, the last and final design alternative we came up with involved this construction paper, which is thin, and as you can see, the buttons and the legs of the buttons and the LEDs can go through it with no problem, and it can stick to the breadboards as well as the Arduinos. But initially, we wanted to put the breadboards and the Arduino onto this plate so they wouldn't show, so they, just so they can look nice and wouldn't show, and but that didn't quite work out as well. So we ended up with this. If we had more time, I'm pretty sure we would have come up with a better design alternative for this hardware interface that didn't involve the construction paper. But due to timing and the end of the semester approaching, we were not able to implement it. But we did get the program to work just as we wanted to. The prototype design to work just as we wanted to. So that was a great strength of this. Again, earlier I mentioned we wanted to implement a software interface. Again, that involved a lot of network programming that was far above either one of our levels, and we were not able to implement it. So we decided to use the serial monitor of the Arduino software, and we decided to use it as a form of feedback as well, because okay, the LCD it'll light up and say yes, helium, no, this is not helium. But we also figured that giving 2 forms of feedback would also be kind of good, because that was one of the things we struggled with when we initially started this prototype design. So we figured 2 forms of feedback. You you possibly can't go wrong with that. Again, we used the Arduino for this prototype design. It wasn't extremely difficult, but yet it wasn't extremely easy as well. Coding using Arduino, similar to C, but yet it has its own tweaks, its own tricks and tips and everything. So we had to learn about those and get adjusted to that, but we were able to pull it off and we were able to do it. So that's all about our prototype design, the Atom. So thank you.